So if you look at the costs of going through embryo adoption at the NEDC versus other assisted reproductive procedures, for the NEDC for a first cycle would cost between $6,000 and $10,000 depending on whether you went open or closed, and then a couple of other things that may or may not occur, and then there's some travel costs on top of that depending on how far away you are. If a couple comes back for a second try after they've been through all the screening procedures, etc. here, then it's about $3,500 for subsequent attempts and the same pregnancy rate for each cycle that they go through.
Going through fresh IVF is anywhere from $15,000 to $20,000, and if you're going to go through the process using an egg donor, that cost could increase by another $5,000 or more. So it is less expensive for the couples to move through this process here.
I think another good comparison to make is what is the cost of traditional versus traditional adoption versus embryo adoption. We are big supporters of traditional adoption. But the fact is it's a hard process to go through now because there aren't that many adoptable babies or babies that are placed for adoption. If you do it domestically, the costs are $15,000 to $20,000 on average. And if you do it internationally, it's more like $25,000 to $30,000. And despite those costs, it is not a guarantee that a couple will actually come home with a baby. If you look at the success rates, our success rates are about the same or higher as a good IVF prognosis patient and just a hair lower than a typical donor egg patient. So if you look at everything together on a cost effectiveness basis, the NEDC is better than, or at least compares very favorably with anything else.
Since the NEDC exists to place these embryos, to help both the embryos and the donors, then it's a different mission, right? I mean, this is not really a commercially driven enterprise. This is a nonprofit that is trying to get these embryos placed into appropriate families. And what an incredible mission that is. And if you are committed to that mission, if you have a staff that's committed to that mission, then it makes sense, then it's doable. But if you're only doing it every so often, if you're doing it infrequently, that's a lot of work. I mean, the FDA criteria, the filling out of the paperwork, I mean, it can be done, but not clearly in the way that is done here. The benefit here is we have a nonprofit dedicated only to this. Okay, that's the only thing the NEDC does. So they're very fast at doing it. In terms of the process, how it is approached, it's great. I mean, to be able to do it and do it in the volume that we can do here is really a winning situation for everybody involved. The experience both on the donor side, the embryo side, and as a physician, on my side as well, that the work gets done seamlessly in the background. I'm not having to inquire what's going on with this patient. Can we get her some embryos? Has anybody donated embryos this year? And in a fertility practice, that's often what happens. And as a result, it usually doesn't get offered.
Despite the fact that we've been very successful at keeping costs down, we realize that some couples are still fairly taxed at the financial impact that this has. Several years ago, we started the Family Building Grant, and we've had a number of very generous donors to the NEDC provide funds for couples so that they can have a portion or even all of their program fees paid. So this has been a big blessing to many of our couples, and anyone can apply for this grant.